Welcome back to the series where I ask you guys through a community poll what your newest hot take is in Geometry Dash, reacting to some pretty nasty ones. If you enjoyed today's video, please remember to like and subscribe. The playlist link to the rest of the series will be in the description, and without further ado, let's get into the video. The community likes to argue about the dumbest stuff, then let everyone enjoy the game. I think it depends on what part of the community that you're in. I think the vast majority of players who aren't like on GD Twitter or extremely active on public Geometry Dash Discord servers don't really argue that much about the fine details of pretty much anything. I think specific parts of the community that are more active online, probably more prone to it. Other than like huge drama like the tidal wave stuff, I think most of the community doesn't argue as much, it's more of a vocal minority. That being said, whenever anyone argues about anything in this community, it is about stupid stuff. Cherry Team makes really good levels and I don't understand why people hate them so much, even if some of their opinions are questionable. I can understand why people dislike them if they're not exactly fans of some of their old levels and the newer remakes that they've been announcing, Tidal Wave and Cosmos. I definitely understand the Vernum hate, like Vernum usually tends to start a lot of drama, but yeah, that's just my theory about it. Kinda impartial on Cherry Team myself. The argument makes something as good as this if you think it's bad, and judging GD levels sucks. I don't need to be a chef to not like food. I agree, I think this is a big cop-out argument for people who just like a level that other people don't like. I think creators sometimes have better perspectives on what is easy and not easy to create, which can factor into some arguments and stuff. Kinda like how if Gordon Ramsay was criticizing a dish, it would probably mean more than just some random person criticizing it. That doesn't mean the random person's opinion has no value. You're probably right for the most part though. Most levels I see with the new camera zoom in effect look like a 2010 Minecraft intro. True! I don't know if it's inherently a bad thing for every level, but sometimes it's just a little bit much. Like there's a sweet spot between not really using camera triggers at all and turning your level into a CapCut edit. I'm thinking it'll probably die down at least a little bit once 2.2 sort of levels out. Slaughterhouse is the most top one vibe top one. I kind of disagree with this. Like sure, it's very intimidating and it has a really nice atmosphere for a top one, but it kind of depends on what you associate with top ones. So like for me, I have a heavy nostalgia bias, so Bloodbath and Bloodlust will always feel like the most top ones no matter what level comes out later. Whereas to someone who's joined the community a little bit more recently, perhaps around the time Slaughterhouse got quote-unquote verified by Space, this would absolutely be the case. Sakupin Circle / Sakupin Hellsong actually goes kinda hard. Honestly, it's kinda based. I think it goes very hard when it's mashed up with Gangsta's Paradise. While I wouldn't be walking around the school hallways with that playing in my headphones, I mean, it's kinda cool. It's at the least overhated. The rating system, frustrating as it is, isn't flawed. The biases of the people running it, however, is. I don't think this statement has the correct framework. An ideal system for anything accounts for the biases or potential biases of people running it, because people will always have biases towards self-interest, towards their own friends, whatever. So yes, obviously the biases of the people running it are part of the issue, but ideally we would have some sort of system that doesn't allow for those biases or at least disincentivizes it from happening. And because the current rating system very much allows for people's biases, or specifically moderators' biases, to affect which levels get elevated to a rated status, the rating system itself is flawed, and to say otherwise is kind of ridiculous. Yes, in theory, with the right people running it, it could be perfect. But also technically, in theory, a monarchy could be perfectly fair. That just doesn't tend to happen because people will always have biases, which again is something that any system has to account for. Modern systems of governments, with a few notable exceptions, tend to get better and better at accounting for this, and the Geometry Dash rating system is no different. There are challenges to changing the rating system in any way, but any of those logistical complications can be accounted for with enough time and effort if, I don't know, RobTop decided to hire other people, which I've been saying is a pretty good idea for quite some time now. Sorry, this is a bit of a tangent, but I think it was important. Epic, Legendary, and maybe Mythic are solely based on the decoration. Regular rate is just whatever the moderator likes, and feature is completely subjective and could be an amazing level or nice deco with gameplay made in the last 30 seconds before uploading. Definitely agree with the first part. Epic, Legendary, and Mythic are almost 100% based off of decoration alone. I do think enjoyability of the gameplay should be more so factored into levels that are easier than a demon. That's sometimes the excuse that people will use when they don't want an extreme demon rated, and at the same time there could be a completely unplayable 4-star and they're completely okay with it. Again, the rating system is pretty flawed. Level deco is kinda in a weird spot right now, not all levels but definitely some. This is just true. Like, we haven't fully settled down from the complete revelation of 2.2. I think level decoration is gonna be in a weird spot at least for like the rest of the year. Generation Retro is a good level. I think it's a funny level. I don't know if I would necessarily call it good. It provides entertainment value to me, that's about it. Sonic Wave remakes are good and interesting. At this point, there's no reason to make a Sonic Wave remake that hasn't already been done, unless it's like a cheap joke, and even then, there's already a bunch of those. But for some reason, there are some people who just absolutely love Sonic Wave, and from that perspective, I could completely understand why Sonic Wave remakes are super interesting. The clock in the first level of the Portal Gauntlet is fine. You die once, yeah, sure, whatever, but you'll know what to do next time, so it's no big deal. Well, I hate all gauntlets, so whatever. Tidal Wave is one of the most underrated top 1 levels. People don't understand how long it takes to build this stuff, and Unilink did a great job. This is something I really tried to factor into my opinion on the level, because I did keep forgetting, oh yeah, this was all built by one person, which is a lot of work. To be fair, it's most of the same designs throughout the entire level, but even then, making a 3-minute solo is a fair bit of effort. I do think people keep forgetting that. The controversy of controversial levels is an art in and of itself. Basically everything humans do can be perceived as art in and of itself. Not to get too philosophical here, but if it has a meaning, it's probably art in some way. I mean, at the end of the day, art doesn't really have a concrete definition anyways, so Grief should be top 1. Always liked Slaughterhouse as a top 1 extreme, and I think the sequel to Slaughterhouse, which is an even harder level, should be really good. Actually, Grief is a prequel. I mean, okay, I think it would be a decent top 1. I just don't know if I would like it as top 1 more than Slaughterhouse. I'm also not entirely sure if it's naturally top 1 anymore post-Tidal Wave. And like any project, I really hate to see it being forced as a top 1, so I don't know. Tidal Wave will start a new quote-unquote wave of decent top 1s and not just hell-themed BS. I think this is 100% true. I think for the past few months before Tidal Wave got placed, things had been looking up, at least partially. Community standards for the top 1 have gotten a fair bit more concrete, and the era of just being able to make a stupid layout and decorate it with a bunch of red piss is over now. I think Tidal Wave played a role in that, but it's hard to tell if that's the main catalyst for it. It definitely helps though, like if you don't like Tidal Wave, then you'll want to see a level better than Tidal Wave on the top spot, and if you do like Tidal Wave, you'll want to stick with the idea of new interesting themes instead of just the stuff we've been getting for the past few years. So it's a win-win for everyone, and most of the feasible next upcoming top 1s like Silent Acropolis, Flame Wall, Griz's new top 1, Apocalyptic Trilogy, they all look really good. So I'm definitely more optimistic about the future for sure. A layout that is well structured and has good gameplay should be rated deco or not. I partially disagree with this, mostly because logistically speaking this would be completely impossible. I think there should be some level of decoration present, but I don't necessarily think it has to be much for a star rate. Featured is another story, but yeah, I get what you mean. Grief verification should start already. I can't even remember if Doggy has made any progress on it or not. Windy Landscape should be a hard demon, also thinking space is good gameplay. You're just wrong. I refuse to elaborate. Vernus has good wah. Oh boy, we got a fellow yapper here. I believe that every single level ever is subjective, and what makes a level rate-worthy aren't the public's opinions on that level. For example, you could love a random recent tab level for its freedom and creativity, but then you could hate some 8-star level for being offensively bland and the most boring gameplay you've ever seen. Therefore, I think Thinking Space is a good level, as black and white is my 3rd favorite color combo because it makes a level look really epic, and also the gameplay is very creative. Lastly, the song is a banger and it fits so well. Okay, so in conclusion, what I'm trying to say is that no level is bad or good unless the player makes it for themselves, which is probably an important reason why you should have to keep your feelings neutral before playing the levels so you get the best experience. Sorry for the long essay, answer Lamau. I don't agree with the Thinking Space part, but generally speaking, obviously, yeah. Everyone's experience is going to be different based off of their own individual preferences. Most levels I've cared enough to make an entire video about criticizing. It's more so motivated by their effect on the community. The top 1s and not medium demons. As long as we can agree Square Adventure is dog shit. I actually really like the deco and name of rights to my The Impossible Levels list is dead. I haven't really heard much about them recently, but I think that's partially just because things got shaken up with the release of 2.2. I don't think it's dead. It was very active beforehand, so I have a hard time imagining that people aren't already using new 2.2 features for new impossible gimmicks. That being said, every level that was created before was so fragile in terms of its feasibility for it to even be physically possible to complete, that I would imagine the 2.2 physics may have accidentally kinda carpet bombed the list. Cosmos sucks, and Cosmos Unleashed is even worse. They both feel like if Slaughterhouse was completely soulless, they both fall as generic levels that are hard for the sake of being hard. I believe that if Cosmos was a mid-range extreme, no one would care about it. I disagree mostly because a lot of the reason why people like Cosmos and Cosmos Unleashed is because of the decoration and nothing else. Sure, a lot of people do like it for being top 1, but I still think if it was a mid-range extreme, there would be a good number of people who would care about it. Sure, not as many, but still a good number of people. And if you want to hear more about Cosmos Unleashed, I just released a video on it. The link is in the description. Tsunami, the 2.2 Tidal Wave sequel, should just be the Cherry Team remake. I think if this happened, there would be a riot. Like, public opinion already isn't exactly in favor of Cherry Team's Tidal Wave remake. If this were to happen, there would be blood, everyone's getting doxxed, it's over. There would be a cyber atomic weapon so that any GD user that also has Twitter downloaded would immediately have their device explode. Fire in the Hole is kind of funny. Okay, hear me out. I kind of agree with it in the sense I think it's funny ironically. Kind of like how Among Us was still funny for a while after people stopped caring about the game, just in an ironic sense. Tidal Wave is mediocre and would have been forgotten about if Terminally Online people didn't like it. The thing most people bring up when they defend the level is its cool theme and that's it. That's not true. That's just blatantly false, and you can go to the comment section of literally any Tidal Wave video I've made over the past couple months and you'll see that. People bring up the level's designs and its style style, its length, the fact that it's a solo level. Yeah, they bring up the theme, but they'll also specifically talk about the theming and how that helps top ones not be just red monsters. Hell, people even bring up the quality of the gameplay because allegedly it's more fun to play than a lot of Extreme Demons. So no, actually, extremely loud and correct buzzer. Scarlet Surge is fun. I'm gonna end this series, I swear to God. I think Tunnel of Despair, despite being moved up, is still likely underrated and should be above at least the Coupon Circles, maybe even top 5. With no current victors, there are still not many player opinions, and W Popoff says it's harder than SKC. Part of my gut just says that W Popoff's placement opinions are ass, so I don't know. He did recently beat it and say it's probably top 5 to 7, and honestly, I do think there is a point to be made about how there are literally no victors of it until W Popoff. I love the running theme over the past year of Zoink just verifying something randomly off the street and then nobody plays it. Tidal Wave's song is garbage. I hardcore disagree. The lyrics of da do 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 actually really resonated with me. Please no one turn that into an actual remix. I've seen those going around recently. Gameplay is not better than Deco, and Deco is not better than gameplay. We should all just quit this game and free ourselves from Rob Top's grasp. Maybe, but honestly, it's too late for me. I've made too much money off this game. Every level in the game can be enjoyable with a good mindset. I think the more annoying the level, the better mindset you have to the point where if you're playing something incredibly insufferable to play, then you just need to be high. Platformer mode is better than regular GD. I think this is completely based off of personal preference. I like regular Geometry Dash way more personally, but then again, I've been playing the regular version of Geometry Dash for years, and I don't tend to play very many platformer games, whereas someone who plays, I don't know, Celeste, Super Mario Maker, all of that, and enjoys all of those games are way more likely to like platformer mode more so than the auto-scroller version of the game. I personally like platformer mode for like just a laid-back session, just doing some grinding with like the easier levels, but I can't do like platformer demons. It's so frustrating for me. Maybe that's partially a skill issue, but whatever. 2.1 is greater than 2.2. No. Most of the things I liked about being in 2.1 will eventually come back to the community just with time. We just need some time to settle with the new features. Plus, there's always the GDPSs if you really want to go back and play that version. Coaster Mountain, as good as it is, should not be legendary. The gameplay is frustrating and janky, which should be top priority when rating levels. Honestly, I kind of agree. I think the decoration is up there for the standards, but honestly, the gameplay is pretty bad. I think it stems back into how most of like the legendary levels are rated legendary for their decoration, not the gameplay. But yeah, I think an epic rating would have sufficed perfectly. So yeah, that's it for today's video. If you did enjoy, please remember to like and subscribe, and you can check out more of these in the end screen card with a playlist of this series. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.